at a lot of states that have done this, the bills are not passing, or they are passing. We've actually had 8 states to pull out of testing. Supposedly, they have passed the bills, but they're going underground with it. So they're still.
Do you know what the bill number is?
I don't, but I can find out, and I'll get with everybody, and you can give you my email, and you can email me any information that or any questions, and I can get back with you on it. As far as the curriculum of Common Core, there's only a very few good things that I could find about Common Core. One of them being, if I was to pack up and leave today and move to, say, Utah, it wouldn't take a lot for my child to catch up to where they're learning at in Utah, because it's across the borderline. And the other thing that I have found about Common Core is that it's bringing us parents together for a common cause and saying, no more. No more. It's unifying us. A lot of the bad things about Common Core is that you've got teachers that stated the curriculum that they have to use to get the children past the assessments aren't age appropriate. Teaching a child to critically think is one thing when it's child appropriate and their brains are developed enough to be able to work through this process. Most textbooks aren't allowed to come home, thus making the age inappropriate assessments that much harder, because us parents, we know what's appropriate for our children. No one else does. So we can't look at the assignments that they're getting and say, I don't want my child to study this. I don't want my child to know about this. We've got 3rd graders learning about adultery. We've got high schools changing the Constitution. We've got 6th graders that they've been told to take out 2 of our Bill of Rights and replace them with something that you think needs to be in our Bill of Rights. Now, I don't know about you, but I love my Constitution, and I don't think anything about it needs to be changed. The only thing I think that we can do to help the Constitution is for our politicians in Washington, D.C. to start following. Now, let's dig into the bad parts of Common Core, or the worst parts of it. It's all bad. The state longitudinal database, and you can look at the charts that I gave you, and this will show you how the information, this is your local school, this is your teacher, this is your time. This is where all the information is going. And how do we know that it's stopping there? We don't know.
Going into a database?
It's going into a massive database. And anybody, you and I can look at that database. Anybody. The state longitudinal database is not just ugly, it's frightening. Additionally, as is stated on the Workforce Data Quality Initiative, United States Department of Labor, this SLDS will enable workforce data to be matched with education data to ultimately create longitudinal data systems with individual level information beginning with pre-kindergarten through post-secondary schooling, all the way through entry and sustained participation in the workforce and government services system. This means that the government, through the public school system, will have a digital record filled with statistics, aggregated information, and even personality traits of your child from the ages of kindergarten through high school and career. Ostensibly, this is an all-brand production that will help policymakers understand how and what affects a child's learning. All this data can be shared with just about anyone without parental consent, thanks to Obama's revision of the Federal Education Rights and Privacy Act of December 2011. Now, up until then, our children's information was confidential. You had to be within the school system, within the state, and very few federal agencies had access to it. After December of 2011, anybody in this room can access it. Anybody in China can access it. Anybody anywhere can access it. I mean, it's all going into a huge data system at the UN. And we all know how easy it is for hackers to hack into technology. It's not very safe. In this, all this data can be shared. This revision introduces 11 different ways the system can share all your child's information with just about anyone. In his February 12th of 2013 State of the Union address, Barack Obama introduced his Early Learning Initiative. This initiative encompasses birth to 5 years of age. So literally, as the very information of Dr. Karen Ephraim put it, the tomb-to-womb dossier will make the NSA's data collection look lame. The breach of privacy for our most valuable members of society is shocking. An American child will no longer be under the sole care of its parents. The government will have very personal information about each child, and the avenues this knowledge will open to the government and private entities is astounding. And I'm sure we all remember all the scandals that's been going on. IRS, the NSA, the AP. And I'm pretty sure that most of us are conservatives in here, or we lean highly toward the conservative values. Can you imagine if that school finds out that you're a conservative parent, what they could do to your child and the information that they've got on your child? Now, as parents and as Americans, I don't know about you, but I don't want my children born into a nation where they are trapped from birth to death. That's not American, and that strictly goes against our Constitution and our 4th and 10th Amendments. On this sheet here, this gives you some examples of information, the way they're going to be collecting information. It's your child's name, the bus stops, allergies, diseases, language, dialects spoken, number of attempts at any given assignment, delinquent status, what they eat at their meals, voting status, marital status. Why would the federal government want to track genetic and medical information coupled with educational information in a prenatal to grade longitudinal database? This is where Bill and Melinda Gates comes in. And Kathleen Sebelius. Do we all know who Kathleen Sebelius is?
HHS.
Okay, HHS plays a big role in Common Core. The very last sheet on this pamphlet, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and a biometric bracelet. Now, I found something on one of the Common Core groups that I'm in this week that I wasn't able to research because of my computer problems. But I asked my son about it, and I don't know about in other cities and other towns, but in order for him to check out a book at the library, he has to do a fingerprint. That's biometric information. Why does the school need my child's fingerprint? We live in a small town. There's not but one N in that whole town. Bill and Melinda Gates are the ones that fund Common Core. Race to the top. My son's school, he come home a couple of months ago and he said, I need to take my headphones to school, Mama. What do you need your headphones for? So when I use my tablet. He's in 1st grade. What is a 1st grader doing with a tablet? they're doing assessment tests on. He said, oh, but it's fine. I said, what do you mean it's fine? He said, well, we're doing matching numbers and letters, and how often do you get to play with these tablets? Oh, a couple times a week. Do you know that they have you noticed a number beside your child's name on their work? They're calling our children by numbers. My son is number 13. I've done been in the school twice. I give him a name for a reason.
When they call the row, they call them number 13?
Number 13. When they call them up for their papers, number 13, will you bring your work up? Yes, ma'am.
Oh, no.
Yes, ma'am. I have been to the school twice over this. Now, I don't know about you, but this is not Hitler's world. I don't want my child numbered. I gave him a name for a reason, and I want his name used. I could talk all night on Common Core. Is that mine?
Please.
Does anybody have any questions?
Well, my grandchildren, half of them, well, the younger ones do not know, are not taught cursive.
I did ask about that in Alcorn County, because I have heard that. Alcorn County is going to do cursive in 3rd grade, or in 2nd grade, excuse me, they've moved it up a year. But they are going to do, the schools do get to sit down once a week and say, okay, this is what we're going to teach. They do have a little bit of leeway, but they have to stick to the Pearson books.
So they can get that.
So they can get the funding. And it's all about money.
Exactly.
That's all it's about. One of our members talked to the superintendent last week. He called me. Said, I just got through talking with Gina, and she says Common Core is good. And you believed her? I'd say Common Core was good too if that's giving me $9 billion a year. And my children were grown and then had moved off to wherever. They're making it sound really good. We'll give you all this money. We're going to teach the children. We've got so many teachers that are quitting and retiring because they refuse to teach Common Core.
What about that guy I heard on the news? He got principals. What was that? He made the principals list. He had 2 A's, a C, and an F. Now, how do you make the principals list with 2 A's, C, and an F?
That's a good question. Speaking of A, B, C's, and D's, they're doing away with A through F. Now it's going to be M, E, M, M-I, P.
Just like they won't let them use the red magic
W,
marker anymore
X, and Y, and Z.
ink pen to mark the child's, if they miss something.
Right.
That's offensive?
Offend my child.
Yeah, they need to
I
learn.
offend him every day.
That's
And,
right.
you know, I mean, I do. I make tears well up in his eyes every day. Offend him.
Didn't hurt me.
Didn't hurt me either. Didn't hurt me when my daddy whooped my tail either.
As far as they're concerned, she can't have characters, though.
That's right.
What you're talking about being character,
That's right.
they've got to take that out of the curriculum.
That's right. They don't want us thinking for ourselves.
And they start with
That's
our
right.
babies. to
What better way to indoctrinate than to start when they're young?
Hitler
What
did
better
it.
way? And that's all they're doing
When
is
you pose the
indoctrinating and
question-
brainwashing.
You posed the question earlier, why would they do this?
Right.
And that can, I don't see any other reason.
There is
Was
no
it for
other.
money? They could print money.
Right.
Come on.
I mean, they print it every day.
It's
That's-
digital now. They don't
it's-
even print it.
It's
I mean-
cradle to grave, creating an entire world of sheep. We've used that analogy a lot, you know, just talking about people being sheep, but I mean, this is literally creating
Creating, raising them.
people who don't know how to think
Because
for
they can't
themselves.
change enough, quick enough. They've got to grow them.
Exactly.
Kids don't know anything other than that, then they have no way to rebel against that.
Do you know that homeschooling has quadrupled in the past couple of years? Last week, a couple of days ago, Florida judges ruled homeschool parents had to send their children back to public school. Now, if it's so important for a child to get an education, why does it matter where the child gets the education, whether it be at home or whether it be in a public school, unless you have an agenda?
Well, they can't use the facts because homeschool children way outdo public school.
Everybody that I've spoke with have said that their children done better in college and scored higher on the SATs after being homeschooled.
Look,
But now-
you have homeschool, that's less kids you have in the public system, which is less money they get in the budget.
That's right.
And which is less sheep that they have.
For everybody, see, that's how they get paid.
You know, they make, so many dollars a day for every child. And if the school has, so many absentees at the end of the year, they take part of that funding back. On orientation night this year, when we went in, that was one of the first things that our principal talked about. We had so many absentees last year that this year we've changed it. Instead of being able to bring your child in 10 minutes late and check them out at 1 o'clock, you've got to have them here 10 minutes early, and you can't check them out till 2, or they're considered absent for the whole day.
And if it gets too out of control, they do what South Panola does here every year, they extend the bus route. That way they can pick up more kids. Make sure they're there on time. That's why they keep extending the bus routes.
Buses are wet, so it's gonna sit up. They don't get late for them.
I don't know, with the way that everything's going now, they may start making the buses run a little earlier, keep from being late.
They break down, that's what they say.
Let me ask you school kids a question. Have any of your teachers gave you assignments and said, don't talk to your parents about this?
No.
You listen, good for you. No? No? There was, an assignment in Tupelo, a couple of weeks ago that was talking about Democrats and Republicans. And the teacher told the students, this is a secret assignment, you can't talk with your parents about it. I can't say who leaked it, but it got leaked into one of my groups that I'm in. And the lady has now quit her job because of it.
Was it teacher?
Was that a Common Core assignment that she had to do?
Was that the one that was, are you pro-gay rights, or?
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw
that's
that.
it.
I mean, it asks kids in the 6th grade now questions like, are you pro-life or pro-abortion?
They had that same
They did it at the high school.
And then at the bottom, it wanted you to check.
They don't know. They're
And-
parenting whatever their parents said.
They did that at
Well,
the
that's
high
why they're
school.
doing it, Bobby, is to find out what the parents' point of view is. Why do you think they're asking children if the parents own guns?
Right.
Because I'm not gonna tell them. My 6-year-old knows better than to tell them. We've had to talk more than once. What we do in this house belongs in this house, stays in this house, and you don't discuss it with anybody else. And I threatened to beat him from here to the end of the block if I found out he discussed anything we done in this house. Because it's not nobody else's business. But you'll, on the worksheets, like I said, they're proud of Common Core. The worksheets will have a Common Core worksheet up on the corner where it says practice number or assignment number. It'll say Common Core. On their books, if they're not allowing them to bring home, you can go to the teacher and say, what is the name of this book and the edition? And you can get online and you can Google the name of that book and the edition number, and you can look online with each assignment.
They're betting we're too lazy to do that.
And that you won't even go to the teachers and ask. You won't go to the the
And that's what I
meetings.
have run across in Alcorn County. There's so many parents that just don't care.
No, it's free
They're
babysitting
sent,
for them.
exactly, I'm sending my child to school just to get out of